get started on the next part, double click on the 08 Start Photoshop document, and let's go up to File and do a Save As. And in this case, we'll call it 08 Working, and put your name on it, and hit Save again, and OK to that. Now, if you haven't done so already, do make sure your Layers panel is open, as well as your Paths panel, so that you can see both of those. This time, we're going to select our Pen tool, go up to your Options, and change it from Shape to Path. Notice for Path, we don't have as many options as we usually do. We're going to keep everything at the default. As you draw a path, I'm going to zoom over so we can see it. This is not going to fill it in with a solid shape color. So instead, we'll start by clicking once here to begin. Just like all the others, we can click and drag to create our curved line. We'll click it to be here. And let's follow around to each of the parts. If you need it to be curved, just remember, click and drag. And in this case, the little circles are going to give you an indication of where to place them. Click and drag. When you reach a corner, simply click once, and it will not create a Bezier handle after that. But in this case, we do need to curve, so click and drag this way. And then come down here, click and drag a little bit. That looks good. We're going to click here. To create a perfectly level one, you can always hold down the Shift key and click, and that will make it perfectly straight across. Continuing on, click and drag, click and drag, click and drag. And then finally, to reach the end, notice that there's a little circle next to your icon that will finish out the rest of that one. Now that we've finished this up, you can see that we've got a couple of places along our path that got off by just a bit. If you ever need to correct your vector drawing path, we need to choose the vector selection tools. These are not the normal move arrow tools at the top. The vector selection tools are the black and white arrows, the path and direct selection tools in order to select and edit a vector path. Let's choose the direct selection tool. And in order to edit a path, you simply select the vector point that you want, and then you can click and drag on the handle or the path in order to rearrange it. Sometimes it'll take multiple clicks or multiple little selections. Again, if yours is off by just a little bit, that's okay. The main thing is we want to make sure this looks as close as possible to where it should be. So check out the entire line, selecting individual points and nudging them up or down until you get something that looks good. Once you're finished, you can hit the Escape key, and it'll deselect the entire thing as well. Notice in your Layers panel, we've got a Path Guide layer as well as a working path for what we have selected. Now, if we want to be able to save this path, you can simply double click on it. This will ask to give it a path name, and let's call it Lemon, and say OK. Now, what we can do with this precise selection is use it to create a variety of masks. First of all, we don't need this Path Guide layer anymore, so I'm going to hide it and simply select my background layer. Notice that because I have my lemon path selected, I can still see my vector outline. Now I can go over to my levels or my layer adjustments, and let's scroll down and find the hue and saturation. Because I have it selected, notice that it added a little layer mask to that area. In this case, it's a vector layer mask. With this layer selected, I can now adjust the hue of this, and let's make it +17, which you can see slides it over and makes just that area be nice and more yellow. Now's a good time to save, so we'll go up to File and Save. Now let's add some type to our design. Grab your horizontal type tool. Make sure your rulers are turned on. If you don't see your rulers on your document, you can go up to View and down to Rulers and make sure it's checked on. Also, you can control-click or right-click on a ruler and make sure inches is selected to measure in inches. Now this is very important. Make sure your hue and saturation layer is selected, but your paths are not selected. So I'm going to click on this empty area to deselect the paths. The reason we do this is because we don't want to type inside of this path area. We want to make our own path area. So with the tool selected, I'm going to click once and create some point type. I'm going to set my font to be a nice bold font, something like Arial. Bold. The size of my font depends on the font that you're using, but for me, 55 looks pretty good for there. Also, we're going to have this be right aligned, so it lines up to the right. Later on, we'll move it. Also, I'm going to open my character panel and make sure all caps is unchecked. So I got upper and lowercase. Now I can type Citrus Lane Farms. In order to move it over, I'm going to use my Move tool. And let's bring it about an inch from the bottom and an inch from the top. So right about there looks good. I'm going to zoom out so I can see the entire thing. And then following along with the book, making sure the layer is selected, let's also turn back on our all caps. And then we want to bring it in just a bit by setting our tracking to be -25. That looks better. I'm going to close out my character panel. Finally, let's add a preset character shape to the left-hand side. If you'll notice at the bottom of your toolbox, you do have a variety of different regular polygon shapes, and there's also some custom shapes. In order to see these custom shapes, we can go up to Window and open up your Shapes panel. Now these are the default vector shapes that are preloaded into your into Photoshop. If you find the flowers, these are some vector flower shapes that we can pick and use from. Let's choose the one that's at the very end, this last one, by clicking on it and dragging it into our composition. Now when we place it, it gives us a bounding box, and we can click and drag. Let's let it be about 1.5 inches tall. If yours is off by a little bit, that's okay. Notice that it has a green outline because it remembered the last time we created a shape was using the green practice outlines that we had. If you go over to your Appearance panel, let's set the stroke for this. Whoops, let's commit to this transformation first. There we go. Now let's set the stroke on this to be none. And let's set the fill color on this to be kind of a yellow. Now we can close out this Shapes panel. In our Layers panel, let's double click on the name of it. Let's call it Flower. Finally, to deselect everything, we can go up to Select and we can deselect the layers. And if necessary, we can use our Move tool to move our text over so that it aligns nicely with our photograph or our logo. We can nudge things around to get it looking nice within our overall composition, nice and centered up. Now that we're done with this, let's simply go up to File and save our work. Upload this Photoshop document to the Canvas page for this lesson.